welcome back. Apparently my storage ran out there, but it's okay. We're going to move on. So what needs to come through? Okay, so we covered a few different things, a slight bit back into that ceremony of telekinesis. And that was pretty cool. Understanding the flow, releasing judgment, some different things. Kind of just an open flow conversation to see what just comes through all on its own, holding the channel open, understanding things to be perfection, seeing how, this feeling is that feeling is that thing, and how these are all important to bring us to each and every different place within ourselves. So I felt sad, I felt mad, I felt happy. That brought me here, that brought me there, that brought me there. It had me interact relevantly and meet this person exactly where they were, meet this person where they were, meet that person where they were. And maybe sometimes I've been too high accelerated in energy and that I wasn't able to quite meet a person exactly where they were. And that's okay, not a big deal. That means, I just supercharge them or I undercharge them. I slow them down or I sped them up, and that's how we're all doing for one another. Kind of like, have you ever played one of those Hot Wheels racetrack games? I don't mean for like a video game system. I mean like back in the day, when you would piece the track together yourself and they would have like those little wheels and they'd make the Hot Wheels go on its own, and every time you hit one of those wheels, it'd speed up and go, whoo! Well, it's kind of like that, but also some of them make you go slower. So you're like, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. We're all like providing a lubrication to our channels of motion. And a lot of us believe that we're like moving on our own, but really it's all the energies around us causing us movement. The energies coming from within inside of us. And the only reason that those things are happening is because all of the karmas of reality are occurring. And how are they occurring? Well, everything is in motion. Everything was placed into motion, and now it doesn't stop. It just continues. It's like, until all the karmas of the world stop together. Let's see if it will. Nope, we're still moving. All right, cool. There is frequencies that you can hit to where everything will stop. A lot like reaching, the speed of light. You're moving very fast, and so everything within reality is like, boom, stop. All kinds of different scenarios can cause that, actually. You could break reality, you could do all kinds of different things, but don't worry, it'll reset itself. You just get to glimpse reality in a really beautiful, plain, basic state of just like its nakedness, the naked nature of reality, nature of mind. You're like, whoa, this is too much computer, I don't know what's going on here. Don't worry about that, that doesn't matter. There's a lot of different ways to view it. That's one particular viewpoint, but, it's on a different realm of frequency, and I rarely ever see it at that frequency. It's typically at one that's cohesive with learning and growth and movement for everything, everything moving together in a really brilliant, phenomenal fashion. And I think that's pretty cool, the way everything works like that. So, and yeah, crazy things can happen during those times. There's a lot to be aware of. There's a lot to see. There's a lot to know. There's a lot to understand. Where do we go? How do we understand these things? Well, like I said, the medicine path is the way in which I've come into great amounts of understanding. Because it turns out that I have been a really amazing being for many lifetimes, so it is like a inheritance of mine to be able to understand these things in a really quick fashion, Perhaps you've done millions of years of breath work, and, well, that doesn't mean that every lifetime you're going to have to go through 20 years of breath work to learn the same things that you learned last time. I mean, you could do that, but for some of us, we've been given a great gift as to, be able to access the information of our past lives and to be able to bring those into ourselves now. And so that's what I've been able to do through the route of medicine ceremony. Now, maybe you found yourself to be an old soul. Well, all right, that's great. Then you can maybe look at psychedelic ceremonies with the greatest teachers that we have, the amazing gateways that lead us deep within ourselves through the process of intention and presence, as gateways that can realign you with where you were in the past life. When you get realigned with that point, then you can progress from that point in this life, but you don't have to be a 60-year-old man, you don't have to be an 80-year-old person, you don't have to have done this for so many years, boosting somebody's ego, paying them money, whatever it is. Back in the day, we didn't have these kinds of funny programs to where, now you have to pay all of this money and be a slave for so many years. And it's like, whoa. As it turns out, my inheritance is not to be a slave, Back in the day, you could go somewhere and you could go on retreat for 3 years and they would allow you to do this, and it would be beautiful. It'd be funded, You would be seen and you would be allowed. Now it's like, well, I have to pay you like $300,000 to make this occur. Well, sorry, I don't have any time to save up that kind of a money. I don't actually know how much it costs, but I'm just saying it's like crazy. What in the world? If I wanted to learn healing from somebody, how much money would that take? How much do I have to boost their ego? How many times do I have to see this person? When really they probably have the ability to tell me in one session what it is I need to do and say, go on and practice. Go and do your thing. You've got it. But instead they like to span it out because they want to make money. Like, okay, I'll give them this little bit and then you do it that way. It's like, well, actually, could you just give me it all? Because I'm a really fast learner, I'm super intelligent, and I don't have the money to keep coming here, and I don't even want to see you, actually. I'm tired of even talking to you. I don't really care for you very much. You're all right, but I'm really just getting this knowledge so I can go heal people, whatever that is. Heal myself, heal others, just, come on, what's going on? They're like, no, 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 no. You must do it this way. I paid. Well, why did you pay? You paid so that everybody else would pay you? That's right. Well, that was the reason for your doing? Thank goodness. All right, well, that's good. All right. Well, I guess if you feel like that, then that's what you want to do. A lot of people do say that. They're like, I paid for it. You have to pay for it, too. All right, well, that's cool. Well, I paid for a lot of stuff, but I don't make you pay for anything. Doesn't matter. I paid for that food. I'm still going to share it with you. I paid for, all kinds of things. I'm going to give it to you. I don't mind. I paid for this marijuana. I paid for this thing over here. I paid for whatever. I've done the work. I've been without. I have no friends or family or anybody that truly loves me and cares for me and is with me and checking on me or anything. I have none of this. But still here I am, doing my very best every day in every way, living in a very hard way to live. Not knowing what's coming tomorrow from this moment to the next, but understanding that I rest within perfection so I can give the teachings of perfection. Why would I give these things? Well, I don't know. Well, nobody seems to value it anyway, so how would I even charge it anyway? A lot of people do say they value it, I have seen people saying, hey, you're helping the world in some manner. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful, I have a friend cry with me yesterday. It was so gorgeous. What an amazing thing. What a phenomenal blessing. A lot of people can see me until I see them. And they're like, this guy has all this wisdom, but then he looked at me, and now I don't think he has any wisdom at all. I'm like, oh, okay. But when he was looking at that guy over there, he had wisdom. When he was looking at that guy over there, he had wisdom. When he looked at me, I couldn't see me, and so now I'm like, no. You don't have any wisdom. There's no reason for me to look at you anymore. No reason for me to speak to you. Everybody does this. It can feel lonely. It does. If there's any energy workers out there, know that, yes, it can feel lonely. I was with this beautiful woman, made love. It was one of the greatest connections I've had in my life. And then all of a sudden, there became a constriction to the channel because of words. And that's why I think I posted the thing about spells and words, is because it was just like ridiculous to me. Silly. I understand an intention, if I say something to you in a certain manner, in a certain tone, in a certain way, that's what you get. That's how you feel. I could say all kinds of things. Have you ever said fuck you to your friend in a playful manner? And did they take it as if you were saying fuck you to them? Perhaps they did. They might be super sensitive. But I used to sit on a porch with my buddies, and we would cuss each other out all day. We'd talk crap about each other all day, and it was awful. One kid did take it very harshly, and it was my fault. I'm very sorry. I don't remember. Nick, thank you. I only remembered him as the little fat kid. It's very sad. I'm sorry to say that, but that is what was happening back then, is we were saying very mean things to one another. And typically this was an okay thing. It was not that bad. It didn't shake us or rile us. We were kind of tough, And that was kind of a lighter thing, really. But there was many of us doing it, and so I feel bad for that, because there's a time in my life when I was made fun of and it didn't feel good. But that wasn't the same thing, That wasn't the same as when I was doing this with my buddies on a porch. This was like when we were doing it with kids that really didn't like us and really didn't respect us and really wasn't, those guys that were being mean to me were being mean to me because they were literally, meaning to be mean to me. And it wasn't the mutual thing occurring, And I guess I put this out on somebody else, and we put this out on each other, and There's a really interesting cycle of perfection to see all these different ways. Now, would I make fun of you now? Would I be mean to you in this way now? Absolutely not. I mean, why would I do that? I mean, I don't do those things, you know. I don't like to. I mean, I may make fun with you, but not make fun of you. I don't like to cuss people out or say any of these things, you know. I don't like to say words like fuck you. That's not something I'm really looking to do. Typically, if I say fuck you, I mean it, you know. I'm like, huh. And it's because you've said something very mean to me, to where that's like, oh, the only reflection that you can come in return. It's like, oh, well, screw you, buddy, you know, how dare you. And people don't expect somebody to say that. They're like, you're a conscious person, how dare you say that? Yes, but I'm not an egoic person, and, you know, I'm not going to sit there and, you know, not be authentic to whatever's occurring. Some people need to hear that. Some people are being very mean, being very attacking with their energy. And if you can just say whatever the moment wants you to say, sometimes it's fuck you, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's, you know, expressing your pain and be like, wow, this really hurts me, you know. But it's up to the level of receptivity. Like, well, imagine you say, oh, wow, this is really hurting me, and then they just keep hurting you more. You know, it's like, no. I'm going to set a boundary, and sometimes my boundary is fuck you. And that's okay. That's not a big deal. It's a rare boundary, but I have said it, and I feel pretty good about it. Anyways, moving along. What I was really trying to say, even though it kind of went off on a fun tangent there, was just that if I were to express these things in a loving manner, in a way that wasn't negative seeming, if I wasn't attacking with this thing, if I was just throwing it in the air with nothing attached to it emotionally, the drive and the motion, the way that it's being perceived, all of these things, it would not have the same effect. You know, people can tell what it is you're meaning to say. They can tell your intention. Some people can become hypersensitive about certain words through their own judgment, and then they can be triggered and take things very personally into their life story, and this is possible. This has happened to me very recently, and this happens to me constantly. Not constantly, but it is something that is possible. People are very sensitive, especially nowadays with the political correctness, with making sure that everything is in a certain manner, and with this new spiritual egoism that is coming around, talking about how words are curses and, you know, all these things, and words are spells that were literally created to screw us over in some kind of a manner. That's like giving a lot of power to some kind of negative entity, some kind of like devil-like object. But there are a lot of people that believe in the devil. There are a lot of people that believe in negatives, demoniacs and demons, and they believe in negative energy spectrums. They believe that these things are true. You know, it is a practice within Buddhism called chud, or there is a practice within Buddhism called chud, and this is a way to, you know, remove fear from oneself. You would go to places that are very frightening to you, Pachangma chud, and perhaps Namkhai Norbu chud as well, and you would go to these places that are very scary, and you would, you know, kind of command the demons and command the spirits away. You would clear your energies within yourself. And I read recently, a year or so ago, who knows, that this practice is a good practice, but a lot of people need to understand that this practice is for people that realize that there are no demons, you know. Because if you go there and you don't realize that there are no demons, you could empower them very much. You become so afraid that they, you know, that there's an effect on you. And it's completely created by yourself, and your own fear, and your own creation of your reality, because all of this is a play of your own mind. And so you can create many things. You don't even realize how amazing the creation of your own mind is. When the Buddha sat down by the tree, the Bodhi tree, he had women come to him with food and with drink and offers of sexual pleasure, and they were the most gorgeous women, of course, you know, very desirable, exactly what the Buddha would have been looking for, these gorgeous women crawling before him with all of these amazing things, you know, gorgeous. And he didn't attach to them. He also had army of soldiers come towards him, banging on their war drums and coming towards him to kill him, you know. Anything in their path, the whole of everything behind him, and anything they crossed by. And, you know, all of these things were seen to be a play of his mind. these things were very real. They looked exactly like you and me do to one another. And it even makes me wonder, are you even here? Well, apparently the Buddha did go on living in reality and teaching all of these people, so each and every one of us somehow, we're creating this entire scenario, and there's a way to bring this to ourselves, to show ourselves that yes, we are creating this whole scenario. We're creating all the woes and all the happinesses that could ever be. We're creating everything through our fears. I believe that this is what people are doing with different galactic understandings. People are believing that there's some giant war occurring. And that's kind of the same as here, There's a giant war occurring here, there's a giant war occurring there. But if we can become the masters of our universe, then we are literally the masters of our universe, the lords of the universe, like Padmasambhava or Jesus or any other ascended master that has become this amazing reflection of themselves. They're able to obtain full liberation, full realization, and now nothing can possibly harm them ever, always. Now imagine they were to join a war. I mean, that would be very silly of them, obviously. It would be very hard to see anybody aside from Krishna. You could see Krishna warring, but you wouldn't really think of anybody else too much warring, I don't think. Maybe Muhammad, I don't know. I don't know a lot about Muhammad just because of the hate that's inside those books as well. I just don't feel like going into that kind of a karmic energy personally. But that's okay, Perhaps there's great wisdom there as well. Luckily, I found all the wisdom that it seems that I need. Through Christianity and through Buddhism and through the Native American cultures and other indigenous cultures and other peaceful places. That's where I look for. I look for places that just speak words of peace, that negate anything else. And I understand that Judaism had words of eye for an eye, tooth for the tooth, but Jesus came and changed that with turn the other cheek, and so I like the teachings of Christ. And I do like some of the things that it would say perhaps in the Old Testament as well. But I'm not really looking towards that to bring teachings through myself, typically. Though sometimes I can, because I can show what it looks like to be in a kind of a fractured mindset, such as the Jews in the desert. They really had a really interesting thing occurring for them in their reality. They were mumbling against God. So there was like a 10-day travel from Egypt to the Promised Land, something like this. And it took them 40 years. Now that's a really difficult thing, and all the while Moses is leading them. Like, geez, man, we're really trying to make it to this place, but we just can't find it. We're constantly going in circles or something. We're lost within the desert. 40 years. And it was said because of all the mumbling against God. So all of the thoughts. And I thought this was a huge, huge teaching. Now, maybe they literally did, get lost in the desert for 40 years. Oh, crazy, that would happen. Or maybe it's just symbology. How phenomenal, but, oh my goodness. 40 whole years, all because they couldn't relax and just let go and trust. Instead, the whole time, they were mumbling, not trusting, this, gosh, this is awful, this motherfucker, I can't believe he led me into the desert, I want to go back, and all they had to do was trust, have faith. All they had to do was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm exactly where I need to be. Just be present, but nope, too much in the past, too much in the future, never able to be here now. So the channel was closed, like, ridiculously. How do we bring everybody to here now so we can stop stumbling around in the desert? But I think these things are very amazing teachers, because you can look and see what happens on a grand scale through this story, whether it be symbolic or true, of what happens to not be in the present moment, to not trust and have faith in God, consciousness, source, oneness, whatever it is. And to see, also like the hardship of the leader. And also see what happened to him as well, when he struck the rock versus just call it out with his voice. All he had to do was call it out with his voice, but he decided to strike the rock instead. Now this was huge, because now he's given a teaching that you must hit something in order to make something happen. You have to perform some kind of action, when really all you had to do was use the voice. And that's a very interesting teaching that I'm really liking to observe from time to time. Like, whenever it comes up in the flow, I don't ever try to bring it through unless it comes up in the flow. I'm very surprised it's come up in the flow now today for this video for everybody around us. And that's really nice. So, interesting things. So when we were talking earlier about telekinesis in the last video, talking about how it connects to you like static electricity, static cling, I'm also trying to bring upon just the types of energy that could come. You know, there's a type of energy that you can feel to where the entire world feels wet. And I was wondering if this is what people felt on PCP. I don't know. I've never taken PCP personally, but they call it getting wet. And then they have superhuman strength and all kinds of amazing things happen. I'm not sure this is always the case with every single person that ever does it, but these are just some hands-on accounts from these kinds of things. But at one time, I had been able to feel wet. But the wet was more being connected to a layer of energy that was very magnetic, very metallic. So it was like being on a certain frame of reference when it came to my perception that was connected to a certain grid pattern, a certain wave of energy, because we have many spheres. We have many spheres of awareness. We have many ways to connect to these spheres and to feel these spheres. You know, there's actually something in our brain that tells us, you know, the difference between us and the objects next to us. Isn't that interesting? It allows us to be separate or to feel separate from these other things, because if that thing were to go away, we actually couldn't tell if we were ourselves or the couch we're sitting on. Now that's very strange, isn't it? You know, you're like, huh. There's a possibility that something would happen in my mind that I would somehow believe I was this couch and not be able to tell that I was this body. I would think that I was this couch and this body, or however that works. It's like, I've never experienced this personally. Like, holy crap. Well, I have experienced some really amazing frequencies to where it felt like I was like caught on to everything, you know, moving with everything in a certain manner, to where it was like my job to move perfectly with everything. And it was like, whoa, what's going on? And I guess typically, I mean, that's what I experience all day, every day. You know, who knows? I'm not moving me. We're moving me. Everything's moving me. I'm not the doer, but it seems I'm doing. You know, it's interesting contrast, doing, not doing, doing, not doing. You know, and to see that, wow, all these things are happening so perfectly. I'm being given this energy, that energy, this energy, that energy, just so that I can be in the proper place for me to be in. You know, today the energy brought me up to Rainbow Park, and now I've been making these videos, and that's wonderful. There's a lot of videos to be made. So that amazing telekinesis experience was pretty cool, because later on in life, I would have not only, well, actually, earlier I had telepathic experience, without medicine ceremony. This was through just energy work on its own. I was a very powerful energy worker very, very quickly, very immediately, without any training from anybody particularly. And yeah, I remember I got really angry one time. Really angry. My girlfriend had slept with a man on our bed when we were broken up. It wasn't like she had cheated on me. But it just messed me up. It made me very mad, and I was looking at it and just becoming angered at the man and rageful in a sense. And she was yelling at me and talking all this, and I was saying whatever, and I backed myself into a closet to get away from her because I was feeling very reactive, and I told her to stay away from me. And then my energy just super bumped up, and I realized why I'd never been hurt in a fight and why I'd never had any kind of real trauma, because my energy, whenever I become in those situations, becomes so strong that it protects me. It keeps me safe. And I felt this because my hands were steaming with energy. It was so powerful, the amount of energy I'd felt in my hands when I'd become angry like that. And then, but because I noticed that, and then I noticed it related to the reason why I was safe all my life and why my punches hurt and why their punches didn't hurt when I was young, very young. And I was like, wow, my energy's always protected me. It was a really great revelation to me. It made me very happy to see that. And so I went from anger to like realization and happiness in some sense. And then I told her about the energy I was feeling, and then I started to send her energy, and she could see the strands connecting my arms, and I was sending her a ton of energy right into her head, putting my arms out in front of me around her head, my hands around her head. And then after that, I sat down on the bed next to her, and I began looking at her, and I could see the aura around her body, and then I wanted to see the aura in front of her body. You know, you could always see like the aura around, but I wanted to see it here in front. And so I was like, if I can see the aura around, I should be able to see the aura here. And then I was like, whoa, well, what about seeing the aura here? Could I see her soul's face is something I thought. So I started trying to see her soul's face. And as I'm sitting there connecting, I have all of this really high-pitched noise ringing in my ears. Really high-pitched, really amazing noise. ringing, you know, it's like getting louder and louder. My retinas are shaking, my eardrums are shaking. Everything inside of my head that can vibrate is vibrating super fast, super loud. And I'm like, whoa, as it's getting more and more intense, and I can feel it's connected, you know, and she's shivering and shaking herself, and I'm like, and I believe that it's because of what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, and I'm wondering to myself, is she hurt? But I can't break out of it. I have no choice. I have to keep doing it. It's just such a pull. All of a sudden, her face changes completely. Her head changes completely. It's not just her face. Her whole head changed into another head. And I'm completely sober. You know, it's like, her head changed. No psychedelics, nothing. Her head completely changed into another person's head, and it was a man's head. And that scared me. When I saw her head change like that, I was like, whoa! I bounced back. She told me that my head had changed too, into a nerdy-looking man. Who knows what he was? But that's cool. And so, and it was like, wow, very powerful. And then anytime that I looked at her, I could reconnect to that feeling and then connect her again, and I'd catch her again, and I'd grab her energy again, and she'd start to shake again. And the ringing noise would start up, beep, all the vibration. Anytime that I looked at her, I was used to it, so I could redo it. Do it again, do it again. It was really interesting. I kept trying it a little bit, but not too far, just to see if it would catch for a moment, then I let it go. But it was really powerful. And the next morning, we had woken up, and she was wanting to argue with me about my friend on the couch or something, and I was very tired, and I was like, saying whatever I said. And then I heard her say something that was like a slight. She was trying to be mean to me, you know? And I was like, what did you say? And she's like, I didn't say anything. And I'm like, I heard her say it. So I was like, no, I heard you. And I said, and so I repeated it to her, and she just looks at me like I'm crazy. It turns out where I heard it was back here. You know, back in the left side of my head, and back here in the back of my head. And that's sometimes where I'll hear noises when I'm sleeping. Hello. You know, stuff like that. And I'm like, huh? Some kind of psychic communication. And yeah, and so she looked at me like I was crazy, kind of in shock, and she's like, I did not say that. And so, you know, it was actually what I had heard from her thoughts. And that was a really cool thing, that we had connected in such a way to allow that channel to be open, and that there's ways to hold those channels open and have those kinds of communications. Really amazing stuff, very simple and basic, this one. Some people have amazing experiences with telepathy. I rarely hear them explain it in a scientific manner. I rarely hear them talk about it in such a way that's like, well, they always make it seem like it's like really great, like, yes. And it's so secretive. They're so secretive. I don't know why. Maybe they're so telepathic that they're afraid what other people would do with telepathy. They're like, I don't know, man, you might be watching my thoughts or something. Well, if you have pure thoughts, then you're good to go, you know, if you're innocent, you know, what's going to happen? What are they going to know? If you're not hiding anything, then no reason to worry. If you're made right with everything in yourself, this is kind of the point of confession, you know, to absolve one of their sins. They're like, oh, okay, now I'm free from this. But while I hold on to this judgment of myself, while I hold on to this negative experience of myself, while I hold on to this secret, I can never be free. You know, it's like, there'll always be a point in conversation where I have to go, ooh, no, don't say that, not that thing. That's something I don't say. I have something I want to say, but I can't say that one thing. You know. Who knows? I'm willing to be honest all the time. Makes me feel very free. That's another thing about being so honest. It really helps you out. You know, when you don't worry about what people think about you, you could say anything to anybody, and now you're just completely free to be you, no matter what. You don't have anything to worry you, you don't have anything to constrict you, you don't have anything to stop you from being you, and it's an amazing thing. It's super wonderful. You can just be free. Be who you are. And use all the information of your experience to help other beings. You know, it's probable that anybody that you meet, you have an experience that could help them if you just share it. But maybe you don't want to share that experience that is similar to their experience because you're still judging yourself for having that experience. And there's a way to release judgment of yourself to see that it was all perfect and see how it was very helpful. And how it doesn't mean anything about you now. Who you are right now is who you are right now. You're not who you were yesterday. You're not who you were just a moment ago. You're definitely not who you were 10 years ago. And it doesn't matter if you killed somebody, you maimed somebody, you didn't stole from somebody, you didn't, or whatever you did. It's okay. It's the process of the path. It was a learning experience. You've done it. It's over. You can't undo it, and now you just move on from that point. You're afraid that somebody won't trust you or whatever that is. Well, I mean, are you trustworthy? If you're trustworthy, then you don't have to worry about people not trusting you. If you're not trustworthy, then surely don't tell them anything that would make them not trust you, because you still want to be dishonest to them. So, and you don't want to risk them knowing that you're dishonest, or you may not be able to be dishonest with them, so, maybe not tell them. But if you can really say that you're done with that thing and that you've learned from that and now you are an honest person, then there should be no reason to be worried about, any time that you were in the past dishonest. And if you're extremely honest with yourself, it's possible that even in those dishonest moments, that there was a good reason for those dishonesties, that there was a good amount of fears that created you to feel like you needed to do that, and then you can explain that, and you can go through all the different details of why it occurred, and what your trauma was, and why you had to express it that way, and clear it, and then it becomes a teaching for the world to see. And that's wonderful, because the more we can all see that we're beautiful and we're pure and we're amazing just as we are, that we can forgive ourselves, that we can be forgiven, that we can be renewed in the moment, then we don't have to hold on to our egos any further and carry them continuously onwards, in huge processes of self-judgment that gets projected to outer judgment constantly. And, if you don't judge yourself for a certain thing, it's rare that you'll judge somebody else for it. But when you're judging yourself for your thoughts and your feelings and for any way that you could possibly be, even the things that you've never been but you might be, you're going to start judging other people too. I don't think that I should be gay. That guy's a nasty, disgusting person. How dare he? He's evil. And it's like, well, I mean, maybe it's okay if you were. Maybe you're not. But maybe it would be okay if you were, even if you're not. Maybe you don't have to judge yourself or what anybody thinks of you. That person can't hug another man. That person can't hit on those women. Why is he hitting on those women? How dare he hit on those women? I wouldn't hit on those women. That guy's a pig, he's a phony, he's an awful person. It was like, well, that guy's probably just, following his heart. He wants to say hi to those girls. Is he doing it in an atrocious way? Is he doing it in a bad way? What's going on, Does he know is he doing it in a bad way because he knows it's a bad way, or is this just the only way that he thinks he should do something? Like, there's a lot of innocence to people. When a dog goes up to somebody with an erection, whether they be male or female, nobody gets mad at the dog. They're like, oh, he's a dog, it's okay, he has an erection. Every time he sees a female dog, he gets an erection. And, I mean, this sounds very silly, I understand. But, maybe that happens for boys, Maybe they don't know how to handle themselves. They're like, oh, my goodness, a very beautiful girl. Oh, my goodness, this is wonderful. It's so good to see you. Ha, ha, ha. And then they get an erection, and they feel all the sexual energy, and it's, oh... and then we call them pigs, but we call the dog, we're like, oh, it's okay, it's just a dog, no problem, And then some people judge the dog, too. They're like, how dare that dog's a pervert. That dog right there. And then other people are like, oh, he's just a dog. It's like, no, he's a perverted dog. I don't like that dog. Get that dog away from me with his pink rocket, whatever, red rocket coming out of there. It's even dripping some pre-cum. It's nasty. I know how many women become wet around people. I don't know if they do. It'd be harder for them to tell. Do they get blood in their clitoris? Do they have erections of their clits? I don't know. Who knows how many times they become horny? You can never tell. This is funny. I can't believe it. I'm upset with the people and their erection.